Hey guys, so today we are carrying out lawn scarification and holotine aeration. It's a wet morning, the ground is a little bit wet and we're still at the end of February. We often get asked, and I often hear comments where people say it's too early and it's too cold. I just want to explain a few things because I'm here telling you guys what I do and there is a reason. Now, obviously the ideal is that you would do it when everything's growing really nicely and it's not too hot. So we're talking early spring, about April time. But as a business owner, if you waited until April to get all of your jobs done, you just wouldn't get them done. So over the years, I've had to just push boundaries while waiting for the best conditions that I can, but I have had to push boundaries. And I can honestly say that at least 90% of the time, everything turns out just fine. And it's only through going through that process that we've discovered that you can scarify and aerate when it's not the best time of year. But you have to check what are the weather conditions like. If you're in shade and it's very wet and boggy, forget it. Wait until spring. Let everything dry out. But lawns like this, they're nice and open. There's a good breeze to blow off any morning dew. It's absolutely fine as long as you're careful when you're turning your machines around. If you put anything really heavy on, it can rumble water up to the surface and it can sort of sink in a bit. So I always go over nice and carefully, nice and steady, and touch wood, 90% of the time we've never had any major problems whatsoever. So we've been over. Now on lawns where it's all enclosed and there's no sort of borders or anything, the aerator machine can't get into the corner properly. So I haven't brought my little handheld aerator tools with me. So I've got to do it with one of these soil core samplers. Just putting a few holes in this corner and every other little corner pretty much. And when it's rained, it aerates nice and easy. And that's pretty much all we do. Now something else you might want to do, especially if you're going to be seeding, is just to get the strimmer and go around the edges, because you won't be doing any grass cutting for about 3 or 4 weeks after, at least. Now he's not planning on seeding for another month, but I'm going to go around with the strimmer just to neaten it up. And then we're going to be doing some hand raking around the edges, because the scarifier can't get right up to the edge. So now we need to think about actually scarifying, which is essentially raking the surface of the ground. There's a few ways of doing it. Now, we are going to be going around the edges first, and the reason for that is because now the blades come to about here. They're in this middle section here. They don't come all the way to the back, and they don't go all the way to the right hand side. There's at least a wheel width. So we can't physically scarify with machine right up to the edge. And if you're in a corner, let's say this is a corner here where there's a house, you can't bring the machine back enough to scarify in that corner. So you can either leave it, but the best answer is just to give it a bit of a rake first. Now, You can use these Bulldog rakes, these Bulldog rakes here. It's got a fixed piece of metal across there, which gives it rigidity. I've used several over the years, but Bulldog are my favourite. This one I've had for at least 7 years, at least. I will provide links to this and the next one I'm going to show you in the description if you want to go and look at those. But basically, you just rake. Any areas you can't get with the machine, just give it a bit of a rake. So you can see, we've raked it like a farmer's field. You've got the grooves, which provides the perfect seed bed for when you're going to overseed. So the seeds will fall into the little grooves, and then when you press it all in, it'll firm everything in. So the other tool is this Wolfgarten scarifying rake. You have to buy the handle and you buy the attachments separate, and they just interlock. You can buy all sorts of attachments. These are brilliant. You get a 10-year warranty. And there's different handles. I think there's a metal one. I believe this is Ashwood. So far so good. It's been really good. But it's just a hand version of the machine. Got really sharp blades which pivot backwards and forwards, and you just rake backwards and forwards, and it's actually a little bit quicker than using the hand rake. So you can either go with one of these or you can use a hand rake, especially if you've only got a small lawn. These are better than a machine. So literally just drag it and rake back. So you can see how it's a lot quicker with the Wolfgarten scarifying rake than the hand rake. But both are perfectly good at raking your lawn if you've only got a small lawn. So again, we've just gone backwards and forwards. It's put the grooves in like the farmer's fields. So that is perfectly fine. So I'm going to carry on around the edge now, and then we're going to get the scarifier out. Now, in terms of scarifier, you can go to Screwfix, Aldi, pick them up for 70, 80 quid. I think they're about 90, 100 quid on Amazon. This is the Still RL 540, what I use a lot. The previous incarnation was the Viking 540. Same company behind it, Viking and no more, but it was a brand by Still. So yeah, good machines. For what they cost, about 500, 600 pounds, they are good enough for 99% of lawns. Right, I will crack on now and go around the edges, and then we'll crack on with the machine. Right, so as you can see I went over twice there, just in different directions. Usually go on a 45° to whatever I've done first, but it doesn't matter too much. You are taking a bit more thatch out every time you go over, and if you go in a different direction you get to chop into new bits of grass and try and take a bit more thatch out. Right, scarified and aerated. All we have to do now is get this cleared up, go over with the mower, tidy up, and we're done. And this will recover over a couple of months. And it's typical sort of thing you do. If you do it regular, do it a couple of times a year, nice and lightly, once you've got top side of it. So you have a big scarify and aerate to get top side, give it a couple of months to recover, and then you scarify regular, a couple of times a year. It will recover faster when you do it regular, only a few weeks, as opposed to 6 or 8 weeks. But it actually looks pretty good. Now, I just wanted to show you what we are trying to achieve. So we've got a bit of a crissy-crossy pattern, and you can see the grooves where the scarify has been. So it's taken out thatch, and yes, it's left a bit of soil, and he's going to be doing a bit of overseeding, so I wasn't too worried about how much came out. But yeah, in general, it's good, and it feels firm. That's what we're after, taking out thatch, which is what makes your lawn spongy. So we've got a nice firm underfoot, and it's actually done a really good job. So I'm really pleased with this. So all I'm going to do now, I'm going to rake this into piles, get it put into the bin, get the motor on, and we'll have a little chat after that. Yeah, there's all sorts of leaf grabbers. You can get little plastic ones and you bend down and pick them up. They're all right. You get the long-handled ones like these, better. Now, most of the time online you'll see some cheaper ones, and these bars are a lot thinner. Now these are about nearly an inch thick, probably nearly 30mm thick, and the others are probably 15mm, something like that. And over the years of using those ones, they were all right, but if you pick heavy piles up, it distorts on this, and it twists, because you're putting a lot into it, and it twists. And what that does, it makes these out of alignment. Now you can see there's a bit of movement in this, although it's never been tightened up, but that fits pretty well in there. And with the other ones, you find that one of these will go across there and the other one will go that way, so you end up with big gaps. And the problem with that is every time you pick something up, it just keeps dropping out. So if you can, try and find some commercial ones. They're about £50, £60. But, I mean, I've had these at least 6 years. 6 years, and using every single year, twice a year. So they've earned the money. But it's just good. You rake it all up, pop it in, and just makes life easier. And that's what it's all about. Making your life easier, because it is hard work and it's back-breaking work, especially when you're doing them day in, day out. You've got to think about your health. Right, so we've just got to mow over, but I'm really pleased with the outcome. That is it, scarified and aerated at the end of February. Sometimes you can get away with it, sometimes you can't, and it all depends on the weather. Like I said, if it's reasonably mild and the grass is growing, the grass will recover, and that's what's important, that the grass continues to grow afterwards. So we need daytime highs of at least 7 or 8. And when you get that, it's fine. Even if it goes to a frost at night, we're doing it really close to spring. So a couple of days here and there of a few frosts is not going to make a slightest bit of difference whatsoever. It's different doing it in December when it's frost, snow, of course. But at this time of the year, it's perfectly fine in my opinion. As long as it's not too boggy, it's not wet, you can get on with it and basically get it done. Now, one last thing that people say to me, should you put a moss treatment on afterwards? Well, there are pros and cons. Not so much pros and cons. There's reasons for and reasons against the idea of putting moss treatments on. Yes, you move the spores around when you're scarifying, so it's good to put some iron sulfate on to kill off any remaining spores. I'm totally up for it, and sometimes I will do it. But this is open, it's nice and light, there's no shaded areas as such. The sun getting on it, and was moving to spring, things are going to get drier. Now remember, moss needs moisture, so as things dry out, the moss will not thrive. The moss will struggle, and the moss will eventually die off. So I don't worry too much as we're getting this close to spring. However, there's no harm whatsoever in putting an additional moss treatment on after you've done it. But because we're so close to spring, in my opinion, there's no need. If there was a lot of shaded areas, I'd probably stick some on, because that will prevent the moss from reforming. So if you've got any questions, comments, pop them down below. I'm here to help you with your lawn. That is what this channel is all about. I don't get everything right, but everything served me well over the last 20 years. So all I can do is pass on what I have learnt. And 9 times out of 10, there's never any major issues. And the things that I have done, that I've had to do, I've had to push the boundaries, often go against what you read in books, and often go against what people say in groups and things like that. And it's what people have said to each other over the years and what people have read in books. But I've had to push the boundaries, and honestly, it's never been a major problem. So I can only share that with you. Any questions, comments, pop them down below. If you like it, a thumbs up would be amazing. Obviously, you can subscribe if you wish, and you'll get more stuff like this. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.